Well, here we go for the last time today. We're going to be looking at measuring, inferences, and prediction. So far, we have started with talking about the word comic. And whenever we're talking about the word comic, the first thing we talked about was communicating. How do we communicate? Communicating, we said, was giving or receiving information. So anytime you communicate, you either give someone information or someone gives information to you. So in this video, I'm communicating with you because I'm giving you information. The second thing we talked about, you had a quiz on this yesterday, was observing. Observing, there's two different types of observing. You have quantitative observing or quantitative observation and qualitative observing or qualitative observation. Remember, a quantitative observation deals with numbers. You can measure it, like we're going to talk about in just a second. And a qualitative observation deals with your five senses. You can look at it, hear it, feel it, taste it, or touch it. One of your five senses has to work for it to be a qualitative observation. Now, that does not mean that if you can look at something and count it, that's a qualitative observation. It means that you can look at something and tell that there's a difference just by looking at it. Now, the first one we're going to look at today is measuring. This is going to be the next step of our comic word that we've been building off of our comic acronym. Measuring is comparing an attribute of an object, such as mass, not math, length, temperature, or capacity, to a unit of measure, such as grams, feet, degrees, or liters. That simply means that I take an object and I figure out how much it weighs, I figure out how much it can hold, or I figure out how hot it is, or how heavy it is. So if I can measure anything about that object, if I can figure out the temperature, if I can figure out how heavy it is, the mass, if I can figure out how much I can put in it, the capacity, or if I can figure out how long it is, the length, I can measure it. So for mass, I would use a scale. For length, I would use a ruler. For temperature, I would use a thermometer. And for capacity, I would use a graduated cylinder or something that can measure your volume. Now, these notes are something that you would want to add to your journal. So I would just write measuring and I would write exactly what you see in the gray box. If you pause the video, it will help you to get it so you don't miss anything. Now, measuring is the process of making observations that can be stated in numerical terms. So if I can use a number to talk about it, I can measure it. So if I can tell you how much something weighs, it's measurable. If I can tell you how long something is, it's measurable. If I can tell you how hot something is, it's measurable. If I can tell you how much can go in something, it's measurable. Anything that you can put a number with is measurable. So your C was communicate, your O was observation, your M was measure, and your I is going to be inferences. What? Wait a second. What's an inference? Not many people understand inferences and predictions. That's something hard for people to understand. But y'all are all smart. Y'all are all brilliant. Y'all are going to get this first try, and we're not going to have any issues at all. So inferences. We infer when we use our past experiences to draw conclusions and make explanations about events not directly observed. That just means that when I walk up and I see something, I automatically decide, okay, I think that this happened. Do I know that it happened? No, I don't know that it happened. I just think that it's happened because of what I see. For instance, I was sitting in my house the other day, and when I was sitting in my house, I heard this loud thud outside, and I was like, I wonder what that is. But I never went and checked to see what it is. So I went outside the next morning, and when I went outside the next morning, I looked at my car, and there was a dent in the side of my car. And I was like, oh no, there's a dent in my car. And then I looked beside it, and there's a tree limb that's laying on the ground beside my car. So my inference would be that because of the storm, the tree limb fell out of the tree, it hit my car, and it dented my car. Did I see it dent my car? No. Did I hear it dent my car? I heard a thud, but I didn't necessarily hear the tree dip my car. So I had to make an inference based on what I saw when I got outside. If you look at the little smiley face man, he says, it looks like water, it feels like water, it pours like water, so we would all say, it must be water. So an inference is just seeing something that has already happened and deciding what you think happened. So let's make an inference together. Let's look at this little diagram here. Now on this diagram, we see little red feet coming down, and we see little green feet coming up. There's two observations. Now what third observation? My third observation would be they're heading towards the same direction. They're coming towards each other. Let's see what's going to happen next. Oh, wow! They got all tangled up with each other, and the green and the red are all mixing together. It almost looks like Christmas. But I wonder what's going on there. Maybe I can think for a second, see if we can figure out what happened. What do you think happened? Let's look at the third picture and see if it can help us out. What? There's no more red feet. Where did the red feet go? You know what I think happened? I think that green-footed animal ate that red-footed animal. I think they got in a fight and the green guy came out on top. That's my inference and I'm sticking to it. Now you see I made my inferences, but next we need to make a prediction. A prediction is forming an idea of what you think is going to happen. So like an inference, it happened and you tell me what you think happened. But a prediction, you're telling me what you think is going to happen. So if I throw the ball as high as I can, you're going to make a prediction of what's going to happen with that ball. You're forming an idea about an expected outcome based on observations and experiences. So you're telling me what you think is going to happen. Use your knowledge to search for patterns. Make a prediction about future events. Now we're going to put all of this together and wrap it up for you. You're going to look at a picture. When you look at this picture, I want you to make an observation, I want you to make an inference, and I want you to make a prediction. Let's look at these elephants together. What's an observation you can make? I observe that they're walking through water. That is a qualitative observation because I can look at that and see that. A quantitative observation is I see that 5 elephants are walking through the water. An inference would be maybe they're hot. Maybe they're wanting to cool off because they're in the water, but I don't know why they went to the water. So I'm just inferring that they've cooled off and they're heading back out because it looks like they're heading out of the river. My prediction could be they may be getting some water to drink before they head out of the river. That was a qualitative observation, a quantitative observation, and a inference and a prediction. Now, you need to make sure that you have those terms written in your journal. If you don't have them written in your journal, you need to go back in the video and find the terms and pause it. You need to make sure you write down measuring, make sure you write down inference, and make sure you write down prediction. These 3 words are very important words that you will need to keep track of and have in your journal for your test.